Both Need for Speed Unbound and Need for Speed Heat have been on sale a lot recently, and a lot of people have asked the community, should they get one or the other? People would think that the simple answer is to get Unbound, right? It's newer, has more stuff, and here's the kicker, it's still being updated, right? I know that is a sore subject to those who still prefer Heat over Unbound, and it does suck that Heat got nothing but a paid DLC car as extra content, but we can complain about that all later. This video is about which Need for Speed game a newcomer should buy and the reasons why they should choose each game. Both games are labeled under the Need for Speed franchise, but that is where the similarities end and the differences begin. If you guys enjoy, make sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and also head over to Twitch and drop a follow over there. I would love for the community we've made here to be live with me over there, so come tune in. Need for Speed Unbound and Need for Speed Heat offer two different types of enjoyment, I would say, and the main difference that people should look for in what game they should buy is what exactly they're buying the game for. Are you wanting a racing game with a great single player mode and story? Are you looking for a great racing game with hard cops or ruthless cops? Are you looking for a more immersive multiplayer experience? These are the questions we are going to go over to hopefully help people that are confused. But if you are out of time already, the short answer is Heat for the single player and Unbound for the multiplayer. The story in Need for Speed Heat is definitely better in more ways than one. You actually have a real adversary you feel compelled to beat. There are enjoyable characters that you can relate to on an immersive story level, and the overall experience of racing while doing the story feels a bit better. If I could explain it in just a few words, I would say that the Heat story just has a better vibe going with it. I know that's not a super in-depth answer, but when you play it versus the Unbound story, you'll see what I mean. In Unbound, the story feels a bit incomplete due to the lack of backstories for characters and also things that just seem to happen for no reason. You have ASAP Rocky just there, and nobody knows why. There are no cop adversaries this time like in other previous Need for Speed games. Instead, you are backstabbed by a friend and then you race smaller races to try and get into a bigger race to win and get the car back that was stolen. Heat's story feels way more serious. You have the cop side who is completely off the rails with what they are doing to handle illegal street racing. The cops are enforcing a strict law where racers are almost getting killed and stealing a crazy amount of cars. The racers in the story are still committing serious illegal racing crimes even though racing events are provided and held legally. The racers still want more and more excitement and clout, so they have started to try and run the city, causing a lot of problems the way they go about doing it. This storyline is much more simple to focus in on and is clear cut than Unbound. You know who to root for and you know who not to root for. There is a clear main villain who is Frank, which is not really a spoiler since it's very clear who the bad guy is. And the good characters introduced, Anna and Lucas, are developed better as well. The story in Unbound is longer, yes, and it still is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie to you, but the beyond cringe moments, the idea that the street racers are somehow the good guys, and the completely unused mayor side story among other things just does not hit the same in my opinion. The serious tones that the story tries to present can't truly be taken seriously due to how much of the story is spent playing around and people trying to make half-witted jokes to others. The balance of lightheartedness and serious isn't done well, and further down the line in the story it becomes very apparent, especially when things that directly impact Rydell and the main character happen. It truly seems like this story was made for a younger audience, and because of this it is not as serious, and you have to engage a bit more to know who is a bad guy and who isn't a bad guy. In fact, after the cars get taken, you go through the entire story and it's still a mystery on why things happen the way that they did. There is no real explanation at all and nobody breaks anything down. For those who want a very serious racing story where the struggle between cop oppression and racer mayhem is apparent, choose Heat. For those who want a story to play that has racing in it with a lighter feel and jokes being said, then choose Unbound. The cops on Lakeshore, aka Unbound, and Palm City, aka Heat, are in two different categories. I will not be talking about the player cops in Hot Pursuit mode because those are players, not AI controlled. The best way I can describe cops in Unbound are annoying but very beatable in lower tier cars and extremely easy in higher tier cars. The cops lack a feeling of ruthlessness and are very avoidable in pretty much every single situation. They are in fact so easy that they can be one-shotted by using your yellow burst NOS with every single car in the game. You do not take any damage if you are the aggressor, so this can be used to cheese any police chases that may start, as all you have to do is hit them before they even see you drive past. This goes all the way from the Heat 1 police cruisers to the Heat 5 Ford Raptors. All the cops can be killed very easily. But the one thing the cops have going for them that I've noticed is that the police are a lot more frequent, and the police chases that you do get into tend to be a little bit more on the lengthy side. As said before, it can be kind of an annoying feeling and this could be due to the spawn rate. It never really feels like the cops are particularly hard to deal with. They're just everywhere all the time. Also, with Unbound cops, you can focus on fleeing or you can fight back. What this means is that in other racing games such as in Heat, the cop force is just so overwhelming and powerful with their attacks and defense that there is no point in fighting back. Your best bet is to just escape using ramps or bridges. In Unbound, it's very new player friendly with giving you the option to either have a good chance at running when you have a high heat level, or you could just take out all the cops and escape the heat level, with both having a high chance of working. Now, talking about Heat, this is a very different experience from Unbound. For one, the risk and reward factor is way higher considering how tough the cops are and what is at stake. The cops on Heat are what those who want to feel like they are fighting for their life in a cop chase are looking for. These cops will hunt you down and brutally try to take you down. Now, remember when I said Unbound gives you the option to either take down every cop or just escape? Heat does not give you this option in the slightest. The best way for you to win is to just try and have cops crash out by taking ramps or getting somewhere high that they cannot reach, like a shipping container. Some of y'all know what method I'm talking about. The heat level system in Need for Speed Heat is nicely balanced, and the gamble between risking it all and keeping the night going for higher rewards versus being on the safe side and going into the garage early is well made. Because you can also get the best Ultimate Plus parts in this nighttime mode with the cops, it also encourages players to stay out and try to push their luck, and Unbound simply does not have this sense of danger. The police are very brutal, but don't really have a strategy like the ones in Unbound do. They will keep ramming you over and over until you crash out, but they do call in spike strips, kill switches, roadblocks, helicopters, everything to make your time escaping 10 times harder. Yes, it is true that a few of these things are present in Unbound, but not nearly on the level they are in Heat. Heat cops are also so hard that it is extremely not recommended to go past Heat 3 for majority of the game due to how ruthless and fast they are. Even with max level cars, the higher heat level cops in Need for Speed Heat can keep up and bully you crazy. But in contrast, if you are in a B tier car in Unbound, on the max heat level, the cops outside of maybe the Raptor will seem to actually try and avoid you even when right next to you. To sum this portion up, if you want fearful, high intensity cop chases that are really engaging, go for Heat. But if you want a lot of cops with them not really being a challenge, go for Unbound. This matters because some people prefer to just focus on the racing and want to deal with the cops as quickly as possible to keep the racing going. Others would prefer to have cop chases where their life and rewards are in danger. This is where Unbound has the first place. In Unbound, the options with grip versus drift and being able to completely do one or the other is great and definitely improved from Heat. Both styles of the driving are optimal in situations depending on skill level, and for new players it's easy to get the hang of grip, and if you want to switch and get with drift, then you can do that as well. The handling for each car is different and it takes time to learn, which is kind of the same with Heat, but there are different handling models that are included with the game, unlike in Heat, where every car has the same handling model. But taking in all things considered, I will say that Unbound has a better grip side of things, but Heat did do drifting a little bit better. For both games, manual does make its return, but I will say that in Unbound, it feels like automatic and manual are a lot closer than in Heat. A lot of new players tend to stick with automatic until they get the hang of everything in the game, so I know a lot of you guys will be pleased to know that. Micro drifting is a way bigger thing in Unbound than it has ever been in a Need for Speed game before. This technique not only helps with not losing as much speed doing certain maneuvers, but it also helps with the burst NOS, which is another mechanic that differs from Heat and in my opinion makes Unbound superior in this case. When you micro drift in Heat, it doesn't do anything but provide a more optimal way to take corners without losing as much speed. In Unbound, micro drifting helps with building up NOS as well, and it can be the difference between a great player and a good player. You need to know how to micro drift correctly, chain those micro drifts together, micro drift while using burst NOS and regular NOS, and there are so many other techniques that can be learned with it. To build on micro drifting, burst NOS is a new powerful way to have your car excel very quickly or turn your car immediately and propel it forward. There is still regular NOS, but the use for this has been limited to keep people wanting more burst NOS. To put it in better terms, think of burst NOS as a more powerful single tank of NOS from Need for Speed Heat. That single tank had a lot of power and could be used all at once for a great boost in speed for a sec. That's what burst NOS is like. The regular NOS is like the smaller tanks in Need for Speed Heat, where it can be used to maintain speeds after achieving them. Need for Speed Heat has the more traditional NOS system, where you can either choose to get great speed for a second, or you can have smaller bottles to help maintain speed after turns and in general. Drift is pretty much the only way to achieve great speeds, and the way it feels in that game is completely different from Unbound. Think of Heat drifting as smooth and gliding across a lake, whereas Unbound it's a little bit more rough it isn't as precise when doing it. There is a mechanic in the game where you can live tune your car to make it have more or less downforce even when you race when playing Heat. This is not available in Unbound. This gives way more control over turns and keeping your speed. If you like to keep it simple with the handling mechanics and prefer a traditional NOS system, Heat is for you. If you like to experience different types of handling and experiment with the new NOS system, then Unbound is definitely for you. Unbound destroys Heat in every single way. Heat was always a game that felt like you were in multiplayer, but it just felt like single player with other people. On the other hand, you have Unbound, which has so many options for multiplayer, there is no comparison. They have races with cops like Heat, called Gauntlet. There are drift playlists, and with the added addition of real drift mechanics, the drifting feels amazing now. We have off-road racing and off-road tires. We have true drag racing, and we even have full lobby events called link ups. There are boosted playlists that give players the opportunity to get even more money and XP. And there are new playlists and races that are added every single update. Yes, I know people are upset about how the new races can only be played in stock cars, and I already made a video for you guys, so relax. This is for new players who wouldn't even care anyway. PvP is also now a thing, and that gives players the opportunity to always find a lobby and always be racing with others. Previous to PvP being implemented, racers would have to try and find lobbies where others would race, and I don't know if it was just me, but in Heat, it seems randoms were always trying to join races, especially at nighttime for a quick rep and Ultimate Plus parts grind. Now, the few things Heat does have are the fact that you can restart races, the 8-player friend lobbies, and the day and night cycle with different races in each. It used to have the ability to start races by yourself over Unbound, but since the new update, Unbound has also implemented this. The day and night cycle was something that was great on release, and even now shines above Unbound, and the combined system they use with all the tracks being available, and that there is no true day and night difference. The only nighttime that you can actually experience is when you change the time of day in the garage before you step out to race. The rep system and the money system were also great additions to Heat. At nighttime, this is where the cops come out to play, and the races get way harder. But for your extra effort, you gain rep to increase your level along with money, and you get the chance to get Ultimate Plus parts or volatile car parts that will help you max out your car. In the daytime, the cops can still chase you, but they are way more tame. This is where the money moves are, and the best money methods due to the fact that you can restart races as many times as you want. Also, in the daytime, the amount of money is significantly increased from nighttime. Yes, you still get money from nighttime as said before, but daytime is the primary source of it. Two different modes that gave you two different things to grind for, and this is missing from Unbound. In Heat, you could play with up to 7 other people, including racing and just playing around in general. In Unbound, this has been cut in half, with you being able to only play with 3 others. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people have way more than 3 other friends they would want to play with, right? So in that case, we had a problem where we had to spend a bunch of time either waiting for players to leave and friends to snipe in, or we just had to play without them. This was never a problem in Heat, and you could play worry-free knowing that you are more likely to fit all your friends in a lobby when playing Heat. But I do want people to keep in mind that if you buy Heat, it will never be updated again. What you see in front of you on your screen is everything that you will have until the end of time. Heat is no longer being updated and was abandoned pretty much soon after release. There will be no new tracks or cars, no new event or PvP mode to find lobbies. Every bug in the game will be there, and if there is something game breaking going on, then most likely it has been there and will still be there. On the opposite side, Unbound is always being updated either with patches or true volume updates which bring new features. In fact, we have a year 3 pretty much confirmed with new tracks and new cars coming with it. There is always something to do. And just naming off a few things like the recently added drift and drag modes and also a true hot pursuit mode, you can see why the current player base is still active. For a more interactive night and day experience, you want Heat. But for a full multiplayer experience that does not pale in comparison to any other Need for Speed game, you want Unbound. Now, if both games are on sale, then I recommend getting both. These games both offer 2 different things and are both worth a playthrough, maybe more than once depending on how you feel afterwards. But what do you guys think though? For everyone who has played both games, let me know which one you think is better for a newcomer or even better in general. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.